Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the More Deals Mastermind. I'm your host, Robert Weichelt. Today's topic, REO 101. This is the very beginning stages. So if you've never been involved in the REO market on the listing side of things, this is going to be a great opportunity for you. It's titled, How to Position Yourself to Receive REO Assignments. REO assignments are listings. First, you get the assignment, then you get to list the property. So I'm going to go ahead and share this with you. Our More Deals Mastermind, we meet every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern by going to moredealsmastermind.com. We also have a coaching and accountability Q&A session every Friday, moredealsmastermind.com also, and that time is 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Eastern. So with that said, let's get right into the slides. I put together some slides for you that might be helpful, letting you know kind of what we're doing. I've been in the business since 1986. The reason why I bring that up is because I was involved in the REO market at an early age. My mother's an REO broker, has been since the late 70s, early 80s. But I got into it in 86, and I call that the glue stick era. If you've ever listed a property back in the day, we had typewriters. We'd run to the property, take our photos, go to the 1 hour photo, wait there for like an hour, and rush back to the office, take those photos, get the glue stick out, bam, typewrite, the whole thing. So we've come a long way. I was approved with 44 different REO and BPO companies. The reason why that's important is because you need to spread out your relationships, and I'll explain why. I scored 1% with Freddie Mac, and 1% is the best you can get. 10% means you're fired and no longer have that account. So the reason why I bring that up, every single REO asset management company, they will score you. You are scored on how long it takes you to accept assignments, takes you how long it takes you to do BPOs, how accurate those BPOs are. Also, if you can put in the chat box or the remarks, who's doing BPOs currently? Put that in there and I'll show you, explain why that's important as well. We have 38 states covered. We have REO and short sale teams in 38 states. And so I take great pride in being able to share this with you today. The reason why we put this class together is because we're looking for coachable, dedicated agents nationwide. I literally get at least one call a day from asset managers. Robert, who do you know in this city? I just got one who do you know in Dover, Delaware, Houston, Texas, Harvest, Alabama? My point is, I'm looking for agents all over the country. It does not matter what brand you're with when I'm looking for. In most cases, it doesn't matter. It depends on who the asset management company is. But I'm looking for coachable, dedicated agents nationwide. So help wanted is the sign of the day. Now, today's REO agenda. Are they still viable? Well, I can tell you this. Check your notice of defaults in your market. Check your market. See what's going on in terms of notice of defaults. You know, what kind of notice of trustee sales are going on in your area? And the question you need to ask yourself, are you positioned? We're going to go over the 6 steps to REO success and how to position yourself for the REO assignment. So REO still exists. I was at an REO assignment this morning. I received the REO assignment literally at the beginning of the year in January. It was occupied. They had no intent of leaving. So we had to do what's called a sheriff's lockout, martial lockout. It's basically resecure, knock, 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 you're out of here, rekeying the property. I met the sheriffs there. 3 of them came up. And the locksmith. We went up, the sheriffs went up to the property, made sure nobody was home. If they were, they would address that. Then my locksmith, once the coast was clear, went in, hid, and rekeyed the property. And then I went and shot the photos and did that whole thing. So they exist. I've closed 5 this year. That's not a ton, but it's coming. Pay attention. Now, this is not a doom and gloom call. And this is certainly a disclosure I always like to mention. I don't want anybody losing their home. Never. Never, never. I don't want when people move their home. I don't like that. However, I don't have a lot to say with it. So as a good agent, we're going to want to reach out to the notice of defaults, notice of trustee sales, reach out to them with maybe a cash offer and help their situation. But in the event they are not being able to be helped and they give the property back, a lot of sellers bury their head in the sand and they just kind of wait till the inevitable happens in that martial lockout. So it's not a doom and gloom, but it's also just pay attention because it's a market that can be very lucrative. Banks need help too. We're not trying to prey on anyone. We want to help people keep their home. But in the event they cannot, we need to make sure we're ready for them. So REO services are recruiting agents every single day. Assignments still exist, and the REO inventory is on their way. So pay attention to that. The notice of defaults, notice of trustees will be your best bet. But driving down the freeway, is there a lot of trash not getting picked up? Is the city or the county or the state, are they deferring some of those expenses, tightening up the purse strings? Pay attention to that. That's your first indication that everyone's tightening up. Now, is it going to come in a tsunami or a constant set of waves? I tell you what, it makes more sense to come in a consistent set versus just all at once. A lot of times it'll come with all at once. The last time around, I had 40 assignments on my desk. Boom, just like that. June 6th, 2004, it was nuts. My point is, the market didn't really start picking up until 6, 7, 8. So it does come, and you have to be ready for it. So I'm going to go over the 6 steps to REO success. Number 1, you need to have an REO resume, and I'll explain that in today's topic here. You need to register with the banks and start accepting BPOs. Take your resume as more of a copy and paste to fill out the assignments, to fill out the portals so you can fill your information in so they know you exist. That's number 1. Number 2, REO and BPO portals. You need to sign up with as many as you can. Absolutely. I mentioned before I was approved with 44 different asset management companies. The more, the merrier. For instance, Chase had 8 different asset management companies disseminating their listings out to agents. Number 3, completing a rockstar BPO. That is super important. The biggest thing to remember with doing a BPO, it's number 1, you need to make sure you do them on time. On time is late, do them early. Make sense? Don't wait until the last minute and have something come up where you're late on those BPOs. They grade you on that. Use those BPOs to get listings. Leverage those BPOs to get more listings. And I'll explain how that works as well. Opening the new assignment, cradle to grave. There's a lot of moving parts. I just told you about a listing I took. I received the assignment in January. It was occupied, and not until this morning did the sheriffs were able to come out and do a lockout. Now, the occupants had left. I think probably coffee was still warm. They literally have a time that they need to leave before the sheriff gets there, and that's what happened to this time. Cash for keys, also known as relocation assistance. That is an important part of preserving the property and also getting that property vacant, because speed to getting it closed is so important, because the holding time is usually the killer of most banks. And number 6, a lot of moving parts here. Property preservation, whether it be trash out, cleaning, both things are mandatory. The one I went to today was just everything that this previous homeowner did not want. They left it at the home. The place was beat up. They even took the doors off all the bedrooms and bathrooms. It was crazy. Accounting. I just paid $648 for a rekey. You're going to need to understand some accounting functions. And I would recommend, and I'll explain this a little later, but have an account set up just for REO. If you intend to get into REO, have an account set up just for REO. And no, rekeys do not always cost $648. This one was an emergency because it was a lockout. It was a sheriff's lockout. So a lot of moving parts there. Offer desk. You're going to need to understand each bank has their own protocol on offers. I had a listing not too long ago that 86 offers on this one property. Common sense would say just give you the top 5 and let them sort it out. This investor wanted all 86 offers to be submitted through their portal. A lot of extra work. Doesn't happen all the time. And of course, a transaction coordinator. If you don't have an assistant, you are one. So with that said, let's go into the agent challenges. Out of area institutional sellers. The one I'm dealing with on this property I explained this morning here, this one's in Scripps Ranch. Great place, great neighborhood. But it's a small company that picks up properties. They're more of like a hedge fund. And they're out of area. They don't know the area. They don't know the market. They're counting on you to be the boots on the ground for them, the eyes and ears. The changing bank procedures. You used to be able to do it this way. Now you got to do it this way. Depends on what investor's calling the shots. So you need to stay in tune with the changing bank procedures when it comes to selling these REO properties. One of the biggest things agents have is, I have no idea how to get the business. Well, I'm going to show you some really good ways to do that. Financial resources. Let me expand on that for just a minute. I talked about that $648 rekey. It was because it was an emergency. It needed to be done in, quickly. And they came in and they met the sheriffs. There's a level of, risk there for them as well. So it happens, but you need to have, in my opinion, have an account earmarked for REO. Put $100 in there. Go down to your bank. If you have intention of being in the REO business, go down, open up an account, put $100 in it. And then you get another closing, put another $200, $300 in it, and have that account set aside. And if for some reason you never get an REO assignment, guess what? You've got a nice little savings account to go take a vacation or buy investment property. My point is, be prepared. Now, I don't like paying the $648, but sometimes that rekey needs to happen right away and it needs to be paid. And the banks will pay you back, but it needs to be paid up front. Standing out to get noticed. Do a great job in your BPOs. That is really the number one thing. Be a resource for your bank. Be a resource, meaning you need to get a locksmith. You need to get a martial lockout. You need to coordinate it. You need to go through and be a resource for your asset management companies. So standing out is good communication and also knowing what the bank's scoring. I can tell you this, it's mostly what they're scoring on is time. For instance, they'll score you on how long it takes you to accept an assignment. They'll score you on how long it takes you to get the BPO. They'll score you on how long it takes to do your monthly marketing report. So they're going to score you on everything. So score high. Now, here's some of the special skill sets. Now, this isn't anything new. Evaluating properties. I bet everybody on this call or is listening to this knows how to evaluate properties. If you don't, you probably need to know how to do that. Helping the bank vacate the occupants. Like in this case, this assignment came over in January, and we not until today did it become vacant because it was on a sheriff's lockout. Managing the property. I noticed that property management skills really come in play. So if you've ever done any kind of property management, whether you've owned the properties or you've managed them for others, it's really good, really helpful information. Of course, listing, the traditional listing, once you get to the assignment. Now, what we're going to do with this new property is we got it rekeyed today. We've ordered the trash out bids because there's a lot of debris left behind, a deep clean and health and safety issues, and getting those doors replaced to start with. So we'll get somebody in there to clean it up so we know what we're working with. Then we'll go in, have contractor bids and give us their bids. The seller will approve them and then we'll get started. Once all of that's ready to go and the place is looking great and ready for market, then the listing starts, and that's when all your marketing efforts get started. Your marketing plan should be stellar. You should be able to show the bank, show the asset management companies what you do to get the highest and best price for these sellers. Now, we've hopefully everyone on this call has sold a home or two. It's no different once that goes on. So here's some, I want to share some helpful REO farming sites. And you can take a screenshot of this. You can email me and I can send you the slideshow, whatever works. But foreclosure.com gives you a real good update on what's happening. Heck, nowadays you just type into chat, what's going on in the REO market in this zip code, and they'll spit it out. But Foreclosure Radar I'm finding very popular. Property Radar, it used to be called Foreclosure Radar. Now it's Property Radar. Great website to go. It is subscription based, but it's fabulous. You can track the NODs, the NOTs. You can track all kinds of stuff there. Realty Track's a good one. Lane Guide, the escrow companies use Lane Guide to get payoffs and everything for escrows. And of course, I like My Plus Leads. My Plus Leads is the most powerful tool you can get for FSBOs, expireds, pre-foreclosure. These are folks that have not yet been foreclosed on. Notice of default, notice of trustee, you can get them. And then obviously what we're talking about today is once it's already gone back to the bank. Now, REO and BPO portals. You want to write this down or take a screenshot, but ResNet. If you're with ResNet, if you're not, you need to be. ResNet is a great portal. They have a lot of different banks that use them to disseminate the tasks out to the agents. You've got Equator, Pyramid Platform. Those are the three top platforms out there. There's many more, but these are the top three. I would recommend you go to these and make sure you have a profile. It doesn't cost you anything to just have a basic profile. Now, one thing to remember, all these platforms are trying to upsell you if they're a business. So ResNet, you go in and have just your basic account, or do you want the Premier Platinum and get REOs? I would personally sign up for every one of them that doesn't cost anything initially. Then once you get the rhythm and you start doing some BPOs and you start seeing, hey, I'm going to get an assignment from this company, I need to be a member, then you do it. So ResNet, Equator, Pyramid, those are the three big ones. REO Network, go to reonetwork.com. It's kind of the yellow pages for REO brokers. Banks go there to find out where they have somebody. Now, banks call me a lot because they know I have agents all over the country and there's a relationship there. But a lot of companies that don't have relationships already started, they can go to REO Network, reonetwork.com, fill out your profile. I would recommend pull up mine, see how I filled mine out. Copy mine, obviously with your information, but it's a really, really good website to go to. Now, resources and associations. And just so we're clear, my goal today is just to kind of give you some pointers. This is REO 101. It's basic. So if you've been in REO before, you're going to know what I'm talking about. And you may already know all this stuff. But those of you that were looking to break into the REO space, this is very helpful information. Now, dsnews.com, huge, go there. That they also have the 5-star conference. They meet once or twice a year and have really nice conferences, asset managers, industry types. It's great networking, really, really a lot of fun and a lot of good business being done there. Defaultpro.org, that's NADP, National Association of Default Professionals. That's used to be called REOMAC. It's now been rebranded to the National Association of Default Professionals. Those are the two top ones, in my opinion. Default Pro is, I think, the premier, the granddaddy of them all, but 5-star is certainly right there. Now, a couple of Facebook groups I want to introduce you to. The RE Alliance. That's a Facebook group that we all, a lot of us are members of. It's a great group, lots of stuff going on. There's probably 10, 11 different asset management companies that are involved in that, and that number grows every day. We do a third Thursday REO Mastermind. And again, I'll give you a chance to get my information if you want to reach out to me, if you want to copy this recording, you want to copy this presentation, anything I can do to help you grow your business, let me know. But I'll give you the information for these different types of meetings and what have you. And of course, Wendy Martin has a BPO course. I'll drop her information in there as well. She's got the best BPO course that I've ever seen. It's very, very, very productive. It's if you're going to do BPOs, broker price opinions, I'm of the opinion you need to go to Wendy Martin's class, BPO course. It's very inexpensive, and BPOs are great for teaching you what's going on in the market and also giving your calling card to the asset management companies looking for agents. Now, your resume. Your resume is really not kind of like what we used to do. I don't know how old you are, but I'm 60, almost 60. And we would give them, when we go to an interview, give them our resume, and while they're reading your resume in front of you. Nowadays, a resume is more of a document that we copy and paste when we're filling out the portals. For example, your name, your phone numbers, all your contact information, your zip codes, and I'll walk you through how your resume needs to look. But your resume can be, your experience needs to be whether you've listed properties, whether you've done BPOs, whether you've done short sales, whether you've worked with buyers on an REO side, there's some level of REO experience. So I guess the question that you need to ask yourself is, why would they give you listings? What makes you stand out from the other agents? I would recommend starting with the BPOs. Now, here's what your your resume needs to look like. Take your gross sales volume from day one, your first day in the business until now. What you need to do is figure out every single transaction you've done, whether you've done buyers, sellers, investors, property management, every single transaction you've done, put it on there. Also, what are your days on market? That's important to an asset manager. What's your REO experience, training, and certification? Have you gone to Bubba Mills' class? Great class. Bob Morrell. There's lots of really great classes out there. Michael Krein has a great short sale class. So what kind of training and certifications do you have? Do you have an REO marketing plan? Can I tell you a little something? An REO marketing plan is nothing different than a regular old marketing plan. It's just a little bit more specific to the REO distressed properties. Not every single asset management company, not every seller goes through and spruces up the home and remodels the whole thing. I've got a property right now that is banged up. We'll probably just go in there and take out, remove all the debris, get it deep cleaned, and depending on how good the carpet is, it looks pretty beat up. They may just take that carpet out and sell it as is. they're not getting the most amount of money by doing that, but they're on a time frame. Now, REO services offered. Here's things you need to do. Like I had a locksmith today. The locksmith that I was going to use at first was ready to go. You got to remember, I received this REO assignment in January. We just got notified a couple of weeks ago that we have a marshal lockout, a sheriff's lockout date. So I called my my rekey, my locksmith. He put it on the calendar, and once we got the date, I let him know. Well, he was out of town, so he gave me a name of another person. You need to have, in my opinion, at least 3 of every vendor, because the locksmith that I use was on vacation. He sent somebody else out. The guy calls me 20 minutes before I'm supposed to meet the sheriff. I'm sorry, my truck won't start, and whatever their nonsense he said. I'm like, oh my God. I called my wife. I said, honey, find one of our backups. She gave me one of the backups. I made the call, and boom, they were out there within 30 minutes. They literally, the locksmith was driving up as I was greeting one of the 3 officers that showed up. Have at least 3 locksmiths. Have at least 3 trash out companies. Initial clean, initial yard, any kind of repairs, handyman work, contractor work, carpet, paint. You need to make sure that you have at least 3 deep. So what I'd recommend you do, go to Facebook and say, in search of, I need 3 electricians, I need 3 plumbers, I need 3 roofers, I need 3 of all these services, right? Now, we're not doing full remodels on these homes. We're doing mostly health and safety issues, carpet, paint, cosmetic stuff. So you need to find 3 vendors ready to go. Be a resource for your asset manager, okay? If a property keeps getting busted into, if they keep breaking into it, breaking the windows, it may be more efficient to board it up. I've had many properties where it's just better to board it up because they kept breaking the windows to get in. So have these folks understand what a board up is, understand the eviction process, and understand that you need to do monthly updates, because these properties, they go in 3-month increments. You'll get a 3-month listing, and you need to go there every single month. Number 1, tell us what the value is. Number 2, give us what's going on. What's the offers? What's happening? Give us an update. Where are we at? So those are some of the services that you need to provide an asset management company. It's a little bit more intense than a traditional listing. The biggest thing that you need to know is, what zip codes do you service? That's the biggest thing that asset management companies look for. What zip codes do you specialize in? Know those. I specialize in all of San Diego County. So I'm basically Camp Pendleton down to Mexico, out to El Centro before you go down the hill. I know all those zip codes, and I want to make sure that my banks know that I'm available in those zip codes should they need a BPO or an REO listing agent. What I've noticed is primarily, at least in San Diego County, I've noticed this a lot all over the country, is the rural properties are the ones that go first. A lot of rural properties like Campo and Boulevard and Descanso, where I'm at, those are quite a bit for like 30, 45 minutes away from civilization. That's where it all comes in. So if you can go out there and do a broker price opinion for an asset manager on something that far away, you will certainly score brownie points. Now, here's a resume. You've got Joe Agent, basic real estate company, realtors, phone number, fax. Who has a fax anymore? Does anyone use a fax? Realtor, CRS, GRI, looks like alphabet soup there. You got your contact information, you got your experience, affiliations, great, you're the president of the board, designations. But the problem is, great resume, but it doesn't say anything about REO experience. Your resume needs to have REO experience on it. You need to be very clear with how you can help that asset manager. So for instance, Joe REO Broker, San Diego REO Partners, Default Assets Division, San Diego REO Specialist, sales volume, how many units you've closed, BPO accuracy. If you don't know, keep track of it. Now, in your scorecards, will typically tell you what your BPO to sales price is, what kind of repeat business, days on market. You get my point. Here's where a REO resume differs. Under marketing, it says pre-approved financing buyer network. We all have that. Offering FHA 203K rehab. I know for a fact that the listing I will be taking will be probably not going to do a whole lot of improvements to it. So it's going to may need a 203K loan. Those are really popular with sellers that aren't doing all the repairs, and the buyers, you want to open up your buyer pool Network of licensed and bonded contractors offering full asset preservation services. Like I mentioned, rekey, trash out, repairs, board ups, yard maintenance, all the things that go along with distressed properties. Now, I'm in San Diego, so there's not a lot of need for winterization, but some properties do need that. Inventory management. That's basically inventory management tells the asset manager that you can handle volume. That's a big key. What do? You have your QuickBooks, you have your REO manager, transaction coordinator, trained back office and field team means I can handle volume. Remember, I mentioned I had 40 assignments, June, boom, here we go. This business comes with a great deal of volume should you be able to handle that. Liability and protection, city and county ordinances. Do you understand from your city and your county how properties, vacant and or abandoned properties, and how it relates to the foreclosure process? For instance, if your yard's going to, is dying, we need to get back out there and beautify it, because either the HOA or the county or city may come back and find the seller. And it's our job to be the eyes and ears for that asset management company. And of course, the zip codes. Put your favorite zip codes. Some will give you 5 options, some will give you 500 options. Just make sure you put as many zip codes as you can. That means more opportunity. What I'd recommend, and what this is your REO identity. I'd like to separate. I have my traditional business, and my marketing strategy is for traditional business. I'm not going to have foreclosure expert on there because I want them to know I'm a traditional expert. But the foreclosure folks need to know that you're a default specialist, an REO specialist. So I like to separate those two. For instance, American Realty, your REO business can be American REO Realty. Okay, US domain name, usrealty.com or usreorealty.com. These are examples, but your REO accounts are different. Your email accounts are different. Your REO signature, your traditional versus your REO. So make sure you separate those, because nothing scares a traditional seller more like I'm a default specialist. Okay. Now, who's the ideal REO agent? 5+ years of REO experience. That's 5+ years of real estate experience, and not so much REO, but 3+ years of REO experience. Now, I can tell you this, there has not been a REO boom since probably 2012 was when I got my last flood of REOs. We had them trickle in from there, but not a lot of agents that are new in this business from the last, gosh, let's see, 2012, that's what, 15 years? That's a long time. So there's a long time that has passed since the last REO market. So not a lot of agents have REO experience. My point in showing you this, sign up anyway. Sign up with everybody you can, because they're not going to come looking for you. You need to go looking for them. Register for every single bank under the sun, all of them for free. Don't sign up with the ones that cost money yet, and let them know that you exist, even if you don't have the 5+ years that they're asking for in real estate or the 3+ years in REO. Financial resources, I talked about that, and that's super important. I'd set up an account, like I talked about earlier. Set up an account and just put $100 in there, and maybe a couple $100 each closing. And the worst case scenario, you have a rainy day fund. It's a good idea, because you're going to have some expenses. Like today, I did that rekey, $648. That leaves a mark. If you are running lean in between transactions, that could leave a mark. I don't want to discourage anyone from getting into the REO space, but you need to have a little bit of backup. Can you speak REO? Do you understand the language? Do you understand what a rekey is, or cash for keys, or occupancy checks, and Marshall lockouts, and BPOs, and monthly reports, and all those things? Do you understand the lingo? I certainly think it's important. And again, implement and follow systems, really important. Where are you getting the business? Mortgage lenders and servicers, credit unions. Credit unions don't have a lot, because they typically, their underwriting guidelines are a little bit more strict, so their foreclosures aren't as high. Government entities like HUD, HUD broker here in San Diego, and HUD has not had a lot of listings, but when they do, they get quite busy. VA, another one. Low barrier of down payment, low barrier of entry for those homes means that if the market starts to shift even a little bit, they didn't put a whole lot down, so they haven't built a lot of equity yet. And depending on what they've got going on, that potentially could lead to a foreclosure. I've been seeing this all day long. New Day USA, and I'm not saying anything bad about them, but I see nothing but these commercials. New Day USA asking for cash out refinances. They're giving you the opportunity to take 100% of your equity out. do a home equity line of credit, or just refinance your whole loan up to 100% loan to value. Well, if the market starts to shift and that market, now you owe more than that home is worth, pay attention to those. You're going to start seeing, here's another stat. This blew my mind. $47 billion in the last quarter in cash out refinances. Folks are tapping at homeowners, are tapping into their equity faster than they have in the last 5 years. Pay attention to that. That's another kind of tidbit there. Asset management companies, of course, I had 44 asset management companies that I was approved with the last time around, and I have a good number of those still today. Some of them don't exist. Some of them blend into each other. New companies pop up, and hedge funds. I talked about that. That's a really important market. Now let's go into BPOs. BPOs are assigned on notice of defaults. Anytime the bank is seeing that somebody has not been making their payments, they'll call a company, or they'll call an agent like me and say, Robert, can you do a broker price opinion? And you'll see right on the tax records that there's a notice of default filed. And we'll do that BPO. We get paid $50, $75 if it's an interior on average. Now, there's some companies out there that want you to do it for free. I probably wouldn't do a lot of those unless it's for the assignment. We can talk more about that. But you're going to have a lot of opportunities. Short sales, there's more short sales. I'm seeing a lot of investor short sale stuff going on right now. PMI removal. Of course, the REO assignment, you'll do a BPO, but you don't get paid when you get the assignment. Like this new listing I got, this assignment I got in January that we did the rekey today. I won't get paid when I do that BPO, but that's okay. I'm giving them the ammunition they need to get that property listed so I can get to market. So you can get anywhere between 50 to 75, depending on the BPO, whether it's interior or exterior, but make your BPO shine. This is your calling card. This is your chance to say, hey, wait a second, Robert, he did a good job for me. I'm going to send him the REO business. Worst case, you're getting paid to how to evaluate properties in your area. You get to know who the defaults are out there, and you really get to an opportunity to get your foot in the REO door. Now, the assignment. Congratulations, you just got a new listing, or it's all excited. How it works, the first thing you do is you do an initial site inspection. I went to this property, the one I just rekeyed today. I went there once a week for the first month, trying to negotiate a cash for keys with the occupants. They had nothing. They wanted nothing. They stayed there rent-free for they'd rather do that. I don't recommend it. But you'll need to do a site inspection, see if it's vacant. If you go to a property and it's vacant, then you need to call your locksmith, let them know that the property is vacant, and get in there and rekey that property. Always ask your asset manager for specific instructions on that. But determining occupancy is a tricky thing. What you don't want to do is just roll into the driveway, music blaring. You want to park down the street, maybe kind of see what the exit points are, because they're not always excited to hear from you. So you want to make sure that you're being safe. Head on a swivel. I tell my kids, head on a swivel. Report back to the bank within 24 hours. Sooner is better. If it's occupied, you notice the asset manager or eviction coordinator. Let them know if it's vacant, that'll stop the eviction because it's vacant now. But if it's occupied, the eviction coordinator will proceed with their eviction process. In the event you get a chance to talk to the occupant, you can negotiate relocation assistance called cash for keys. That usually, the home has to be in broom swept condition. That's the better way to go, because like the one I did today, they literally used that home as a dump, as a trash can. Everything they didn't want, they just left it in the house. So cash for keys is a good thing. But you'll if it's occupied, you do your exterior BPO. If vacant, you'll do your full interior BPO. Now, untrained REO agents. This is always a funny thing. I had this happen so many times that agents will say, wait a second, I have to evict people? No, you're just the eyes and ears. You're the messenger for the bank, for the eviction coordinator. So you don't have to evict them personally. You don't need to be an eviction attorney. I've seen occupants put cement in the toilets. That's a horrible thing to do, but I've seen it. And you're going to see things like that. This is not a traditional real estate transaction. The utilities, power, water, gas, electric, all of that stuff needs to go in your name. Usually I have some banks that put it in their name, which I like. And some, they want me to call up power, water, get everything in my name. And then I submit an invoice to the asset management company for reimbursement, usually on a 30-day process. So that's usually why it's a good idea to have your account set up, because if you need to pay for those expenses you were not expecting, that could throw your budget off a little bit. Now, the reason why I show this, I showed you this photo right here. This guy is an untrained REO agent. This guy right here, this is a photo of me when our son was 5 years old. He wanted a motorcycle. I said, sure, you can have one, but I can't let you ride alone. So I never rode a motorcycle in my life. I was 35 years old, I believe. And started how to ride a motorcycle, and I had no idea. I mean, I've ridden bicycles, but never a motorcycle. Totally different. Well, I wanted to be a good rider and not kill myself. So I called a buddy of mine who used to race Supercross professionally and said, hey, I need to learn how to ride a motorcycle. Well, 6 months went by, and I ended up racing at Qualcomm Stadium, Anaheim Stadium in the amateur Supercross. It was great. And the reason why I tell you that story, if something's important, you're going to learn it. REO is something you need to learn. This is not something we all are gifted with REO knowledge. Learn how to be really good at what you do. Here's an example of what asset managers want you to do. They want you to be able to be proactive. I had a Freddie Mac listing. It was in Dictionary Hill, Spring Valley, San Diego. And if anyone even knows this hills are so steep. They build these homes on stilts. It's crazy. But I walked up this hill totally out of breath, and I get up to the top and I see this bus at the top of this property. I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get this out of here? I called towing companies. That was way too expensive. And they almost said, no, it was hard to even find somebody that even give me a price. I had somebody said, oh, let's see if you can get an airlift, a helicopter. Talk about expensive. And these banks want to save as much money as they can. So I came back to them with a solution. I had to think outside the bus. I called my contractor. He went over there and said, here's what we should do. Let's cut it up in bite-sized pieces, because how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. He cut this bus up in bite-sized pieces. And of course, I got the approval from my asset manager before I obligate them to any expense. But he cut it up and brought it on a flatbed trailer. It took a little longer, but it was a much cheaper way to go. So come back to the asset managers with solutions. You can come to them with problems, but have the solution at the same time. Here's the problem, here's the solution. Not, here's the problem, what do you want to do? They don't want to have to think a whole lot. They want you to do that. Let's talk about the income opportunities, because I know this is important for everyone. BPOs, you can average, like I said, between $50 and $75. Let's call it 60 bucks. You can make 60 bucks to get paid to know what's going on in your market. And also, you're getting a chance to become familiar with the asset management companies. You do a great job in a BPO, they're going to share your information. The asset manager is going to share your information with every asset manager they know. Number one. Number two, when those companies, it's funny how these companies, they bounce around a little bit. I was doing a lot of BPOs for this guy. He turned me on to all his asset management companies in his company. Then he left. I'm still working with this company. Now the asset manager left, and now he's working with another company. And now I'm doing all their work. BPOs are a great way to get your foot in the door. You know what I like also is REO listings. You ever have that seller saying, oh, it didn't sell because they want a little too much. It didn't sell. Let's pull it off until the spring, or let's pull it off until the end of summer, or whatever excuse they want to do to take their listing off the market. REO listings close. Banks aren't going to say, oh, yeah, let's just pull it off the market and wait till a better time. They need it gone. They need it off their books. You get great compensation. They're 30 days usually in closing, but every one of them closes. Now, sometimes they get reassigned because you don't do a great job, and that's another thing that's on the agent. Double-ended closings. I can't tell you the VIP list. I'll have this property that I use today, the one in Scripps Ranch. That property will have a sign out in front, do not disturb the occupant. I do that because I want other people, maybe unsavory people, to come by where it says do not disturb the occupant, so they know that it's occupied or potentially think it's occupied when in fact it's vacant. I don't want people breaking in our home. But my sign's out there. I'm getting a handful of folks calling before I even get a price. When you get a price, please let me know. I'm building up my VIP interest list. 60% of the REOs are double-ended. My office, my buyer agents work with the buyers on my listings. They do the monthly updates, they hold the open houses, and they get every single buyer call on those properties, it's a great way to go. And I call it the 21-day exclusivity window. You won't see that documented anywhere, but that's usually what I use is 21 days. And that's where you build up that interest list. Here's another great thing with REO and BPO. You become the market expert. You get a bunch of REO signs. I think back in the heyday, we had like 1,000 signs scattered all over San Diego. That's a lot of marketing being put to work for us. REOs lead to traditional listings. REOs lead to short sale listings. Your asset managers are a great resource. Do a good job for them, and the sky's the limit. Now, a lot of you are maybe not into to the REOs or doing anything like this, but I can tell you this: it's a great business model because corporate sellers need great agents as well. Again, I don't want anyone to lose their home. That certainly I don't want that. But it's other target agents, offices, target market is FSBOs, expireds. Those guys have their hands up. Your personal database likely to move, builders, REO asset managers. But as you're building your REO business, because it takes time, guys. It takes time to start doing those BPOs, to get with the banks, to get uploaded with them, get them to start sending you BPOs, get them to start sending you assignments. It takes time. But what are you doing right now to build your business? Now, again, the reason why I did this call is because I'm looking for coachable, dedicated agents nationwide. Doesn't matter what city you're in, doesn't matter what company you're with in most cases. I just need to know that I have folks that I can refer. I refer listings all the time. So I want to make sure if you're looking to get into the REO space, I want to be a resource for you. So at the end of the day, we understand there's an opportunity, but we need to bridge that opportunity gap. We recognize that there are challenges that we need to get through with this space, but we need to bridge the gap. And I think it comes with education and resources. I coach, train, and mentor agents all the time on the REO space. We meet on Fridays. We talk about working with FSBOs, expireds, pre-foreclosure, and positioning yourself for the REO market that is upon us. So education and resources are important. So here's your call to action. If you want to schedule a one-on-one with me, I had no problem sitting down with you and trying to figure out, and we do it by Zoom, we're sitting down and going over exactly what's going on in your business, what you can do right now to position yourself to get more BPOs, position yourself to get into the REO space. So I recommend you, that goes right to my calendar. I'd be more than happy to sit down with anybody at least once. I also want to encourage you to check out our More Deals Mastermind. Be a fly on the wall. See what we've got going on every Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. That's our Partner Plus weekly coaching and accountability call. How'd your week go? Who'd you call? How many contacts you have? How many listings you get? Full accountability. And we have a great time. But because remember, guys, consistency creates champions. I love that quote. Now, oftentimes I'm joined by my partner, Kathy Ryan. She's really good with cash offers. So if you decide you want to go after the pre-foreclosure market, you really need to have a cash offer solution. And Kathy can walk you through how to do that. So with that said, I want to thank you for tuning in today. We're going to stop the recording here in a second. We're going to do some Q&A. But I just want to thank you, everybody, for reaching out. You can join us every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. The More Deals Mastermind, by going to moredealsmastermind.com every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. It's been my pleasure speaking with you all, and we'll see you in escrow.